Some people get into power and they think they should be in power forever. I do 4 years, 5 years, normally where I go and try and change things, and you move. We did it at Kotoko. By the time we left, the balance sheet had an operating profit year in, year out by the time we had finished. So by the time we were dismissed, removed, Kotoko was in a healthy state. We had culled in young boys. We had got a system with the schools. We had Middendorp had trained people like Parkwesi Fabian and the rest. We had schools which there was a Kotoko style that was endemic and part of Asanteman. And therefore we had a younger group of players who were coming, the Patrick Dodus and Osei Kwames and all of them were part of an academy side that we had started putting into the Kotoko team at the age of 16, 17 years old, to understand that football is not about who dribbles the best, who has the biggest mouth. Systems, patterns, plans, working for one another in a coordinated fashion, starting from when you're young to your pre-season training, coordinating it, making sure that you set the limits higher and higher and higher so that they become exceptional interplays within themselves. And we did that with football. We started doing that with rugby. Rugby is a little bit different because the issue of how we raise money, how we manage it, becomes a key. And World Rugby, Africa Rugby representatives have made it very clear that part of our vision and our plans, they themselves did not think was possible when we started off. We've proved it to be possible. So we're going into an elective Congress. We're not due that, but I've suggested that, and it'll happen, where hopefully we'll have different people put their hands up and say, we want to be president of Ghana Rugby. I know that Cape Coast had their elective and they chose their group of people about 3-4 months ago. And as you know, we all changed our constitution in approval with the NSA. More importantly, with World Rugby, it was a World Rugby suggestion. They believe we've got the best setup in Africa. It's based on the New Zealand structures. And it will be represented here by members of Africa Rugby, possibly even World Rugby, I'm not sure. Will be here for that elective late in January or early in February. And I'm hoping that people who come, we have a vetting system which is a lot better than football. Sorry, we look at what happens in the GFA and we laugh. Part of it is serious, a lot of it is comedies. Okay? You really must be able to put together a CV that didn't say you went to a school or a university, but that says, we understand that sports is big business. We understand that rugby this year, unlike at any point in time, has had teams that play in the under-20s. What are the financial implications of that? They're playing in the ladies' sevens. What are the financial implications? The men's sevens, the Nations Cup, the Tri-Nations. So as a team sport, we play more competitions now in Ghana than any other team sport. Each of them have huge financial implications. You remember when I went to Kotoko, it was a big argument. I started saying anybody who was going to join the board should bring 50,000. People say, why should they bring 50,000? It was a big hoo-ha. People don't think far. I'm not saying I think further than other people, but clearly there was a need to people understand that if you sit on the board, it's not because you're a big man, but because you understand that in order to guide the institution, one of the things that we needed to do was to be able to raise money and understand our marriage between the corporate world and ourselves, our individual contributions as board members to make it work. And if they can understand that, and I'm not sure all my current board members in Ghana Rugby understand that, but by having an early elective, somebody's got to be able to raise their hand and say, yes, we need to raise X hundreds of thousands, millions of CDs every year for this program to be sustainable and to move. And there's enough time being given. It's being spread around. Public notices will be made. And it'll then give somebody somewhere the chance to say, I want that job. I want that job. I can do that job. And if they pass the vetting, that's a key issue here. If they pass the vetting, and it's not a complicated business, it's not we don't like you, we like you. It's, do you understand what governance is all about? Do you understand and share the view in terms of continuity? Are you prepared to support the development of the children's game through getting into rugby, the women's game in terms of where we're going? Because for 2020, we would like to see before the end of 2020 a 15-a-side women's team. Right now, a group of people are setting up a northern franchise. So we have St. West, we have Greater Accra, we have the north sector in the next 30 days will have set up as an entity. And we're trying to encourage those in the Volta region also to set up. So by 2021, there'll be 5 different setups, structures, who will have the voting rights, the capacity, we have the inclusiveness of all players from all sides to be part of a bigger program. Whoever's going to lead, it's not about having the money, it's about having the way to understand how you can raise the money. Whether you understand the policies, the ethics, the code of ethics, and what is required from World Rugby to ensure that Ghana, which is viewed as one of the best run rugby nations in Africa, because 2020, Ghana is now going to find its level. We are unlikely to win anything in Africa in 2020, but it becomes a preparation for 2021, 2020, 2022. We're very, very realistic. So how do we manage that? Take that forward within the budget of where we are. We've done 2019. Anybody who wants a job will understand what was involved financially for 2019. And if they are aware of what's what for 2019, they raise their hand. The next time, hopefully you'll be talking to somebody else, hopefully in a different building, a new headquarters for Ghana Rugby, hopefully with the investments that will be required that we bought in terms of buses and vehicles and infrastructure. As you know, we camp the boys in the building, feed them, take care of them, give them allowances, full medical care is taking care of all the players. And this is the basic minimum that is required. And I think if we get 2-3 people who show they have that ability and share the vision, then come the AGM, Ghana Rugby will be in safe hands.
At this particular time?
I think this time is critical, Theo, because you're now going to get into another year. Look, we overachieved this year. We did not know we were going to, when we were entered for the Bartes Under 20, I called President Babu, we are now very close, I'm on the board of EXCO and we consult with everything. I chair the sponsorship, finance, media, marketing committees, so the guts of it is pretty large. And I thought we were 18 months premature where we were in terms of entering under 20. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to fly, you can't tell people to let you walk for another period. You have to embrace the challenge. So we did not know we'd be involved in that and the cost implications for that for ourselves, you see. Then the women, we fought, we got that. But look at the difficulties we had. We had passport problems, travel problems. We incurred massive costs to get the ladies there. And the ladies did us proud. The Olympic qualification, we knew we'd go, so we had budgeted for that. We'd established the Tri-Nations, and we thought that would be our major competition through this year. But with the change at the EXCO of Africa Rugby, the Bronze Cup was cancelled, the Silver Cup was cancelled, the Gold Cup was cancelled, because President Babu believed that we needed to look at our finances and we needed to create a system that would make it inclusive for everybody. So the fact that we're going to play Tunisia and Zimbabwe when we're not supposed to gives us the opportunity, if we have the right Ghanaians in place, if we have the right investment in place, the right scrummaging machines, develop a stronger league, better players from outside to get involved with what we're doing, to say 2023, Ghana can try and compete, even though it's unlikely to go for the World Cup in that 2023. But certainly by 2027, Ghana will now be in a state and readiness to compete to enter the World Cup in 2027. So it's a vision. Part of a vision is long play. We can't take Ghana Rugby as it was in 2018. It's changed. We're in 5 more competitions than we were then. By 2021, we will now be entering under 14, under 12, under 16, under 18 competitions in Africa. So the growth of getting into rugby, the growth of where we are going, you can see we're only moving in one direction. Whoever wants the seat, it always happens, must now show that that vision, that preparedness, those guarantees, we have shown that we've been able to balance the books. So who wants to? If nobody raises their hand, then that becomes a problem, you see. But I'm aware of one or two ambitious people who are thinking about it, and we wish them well.
Meaning that you want to step?
Oh yes, why not? I think that's the time has come for somebody else to also.
Is it too sudden?
Nothing is ever. The time is never right, is it? Sure, if there's nobody, I have no choice. I have to continue until there's somebody. But as I said, there are always one or two people. You have to hope. And also, don't forget, we don't have a vice president of Ghana Rugby because nobody stood in for that seat at the last election. And we have a number of people who've been putting their hat up. Clearly, James Nunu has been the most effective of the on-the-ground people. I would like to see people like Riyad Malan and Steve Noy and Ernest Hansen, who are invited to the board, stand in elective roles because they played a huge role, especially without Riyad, they would not be Ghana Rugby. Steve Noy has not been well, but he has run the domestic league. It's interesting. He's not here this year, and there's a few issues going on, as you can see. So it's to get more people involved at different levels, and so that you can spread again that flat organogram and get more people involved in things. We've tried in the past to get some players involved in senior roles, apart from really with Rafatu, does not work with the men, as you know. But we have to try and find ways where the future is not about people who don't want to leave power. It's about people who want it but are capable, because it's two different things from wanting and are capable. And I'm hoping that we get into an elective to that point where Ghana Rugby can raise his hand and say we have been the most successful team sport in the last 3 to 4 years, and that is due to everybody who is involved. You go to an elective, we see what is going to happen, and the first challenge has already started. That is Zimbabwe. They're in camp, they're preparing. Colin Osborne is here soon, Stuart Amar is here soon, Bruno will be returning from treatment in South Africa. Richard has had a ACL injury, which we've already sent $12,000 for the first part of the operation. He'll be back on the 21st. He'll return on the 3rd, 4th of January for another 3 weeks. He'll be back. We will send him. We try and take care of the ones who are serious and who are part of the game, the gig that we're involved in. It's exciting times. And as I said, we need to thank you guys, the few of you in the media who've understood that there is more in Ghana in terms of our talent than just football. Because if you're only capturing football at the present moment, and we pray it changes because we are patriotic Ghanaians, then for the last 2 years you are just carrying heartache, defeat, failure, lowering of the bar, lowering of the bar, lowering of the bar. The bar soon will be under the ground. And then you'll be charging around, talking about some players and covering it. The structure is wrong, has been wrong. And we only wish Kurt and his team the best to do what is needed off the field in order to get success on the field, to develop what is required at grassroots level, at domestic levels. It is not about simply putting people in positions, because that is the one single biggest problem we have in Ghana, in sports and in politics. We create the boxes and we say, you are now head of this committee. What does that mean in terms of the development of the game? Governance is governance. You will need people, absolutely, we understand. But there are more critical issues in terms of getting forward momentum, forward propulsion, and getting things work. And if that is done in the world of football, then that's where the money is. That's where everybody else is. They will overachieve. But the fact that you guys carry a minority sport in a country that does not play rugby and is able to show the success of the game here, able to show people who are there at 75 kilos, playing with our biggest guy is the young man Amele at 140 kilos. I think he was around 140 kilos before he had his lunch. So 140 kilos. Nobody in the World Cup was 140 kilos. So what we didn't know we have, we have. Big Mike at 6'4.5" and 138 kilos. That's big. Before you come into the Lukmans and the rest at 115 kilos, 113, 117 kilos. You need to have the muscle, the mass, then to be able to carry it for 80 minutes plus, so 90 minutes. You need to be able to lower that trajectory and hit low, hard, pick yourself up, back into contact again in the hot sun, understanding that there's a pattern that you're playing. You're not just running and hitting people. You're there supporting your teammates. That discipline is something that Ghana has never had. And I sit back and it excites me because I got into Ghana Rugby when The average person was about 70, 80 kilos. They were small people. I know football terms, that's big, but small people. And now you've got big people who are fit, who are strong, who are focused. Some not so focused, but we have a core of people who are making Ghana proud. And this year they've lifted 2 trophies, and they've qualified for the Nations Cup. They've gone through pre-qualification, group stages. They are now in the big league. Overachieved. And that should make us all proud.
Thank you very much, Chairman.